deer population in Scotland is estimated to have increased from about 500,000 in 1990 to probably in excess of 1 million now in 2025. And where you've got wild deer in high numbers, that can give you severe problems. And that could be whether you're trying to grow trees or agricultural crops, or you're trying to restore peatland areas, or you're trying to improve your watercourse management, if you're trying to establish woodlands in the urban, semi-urban environment, or you're trying to reduce deer vehicle impacts. If you've got too many deer, then the problems can be severe and the deer then have to be managed. In highlands, the main species tends to be red deer. And so you might get groups of anything from 5, 10 up to several hundred. In Scotland, we're trying to expand our forests and woodlands by around between 10,000 and 18,000 hectares per year. But that only works if you're able to either plant trees or achieve natural regeneration in the absence of herbivore pressures. And if you've got deer in a locality and you're not using a deer fence to keep deer out, then deer will come through the new woodland area and they will nibble away at the trees you've planted or the trees that you're seeded in and trying to grow. In terms of nutrition, they tend to home in on young trees, which are quite nutritious and valuable from their point of view as a growing animal. You've really got to deal with the browsing levels either by culling or by setting up a deer fence to keep the deer out, which can be expensive to erect and to maintain. They can be 10 or 15 or 20 pound per metre. And of course the other problem with a deer fence once it's up is making sure it remains deer tight and doesn't become porous. And within a forest environment, even on a farm situation, if there are any trees nearby and they happen to blow during a storm or strong wind, fall down across the fence, flatten the fence, and the deer then immediately given a route into your young plantation or your young woodland. With the backdrop of a roughly an estimated 1 million deer, there are areas in Scotland where, quite frankly, you just cannot get your young trees away or your sensitive conservation sites without, at least in the short term, erecting a deer fence exclosure. Hopefully going forward, if in Scotland we increase the culls by the additional 50,000 deer per year, we start making real inroads to the current deer population and deer numbers and densities go down, then hopefully at some stage in the future we'll be able to reduce our reliance on deer fencing.
It's a huge task to try and bring deer more into line with what the habitat needs. I've seen deer populations that are as high as 40 deer per kilometre square, where I know that strategically to deliver nature restoration we need deer sometimes down 2 to 5 deer per kilometre square. It can take up to 10 years really to bring a hive deer population down from where it was to where it's needed. What's also really challenging is this group of 1,000 deer will, procreate every year. maybe 30, 40, 50%. So unless you're shooting above that percentage of that population every year, you're either the population is still increasing or you're just holding it steady. We're shooting high densities of deer to try and keep our deer densities as low as possible. And what we found is by keeping our deer densities low and allowing our habitats to thrive, we're actually getting better quality animals across the board. So we found that our average weights of deer have actually gone up across this part of the world because there's less of them, there's more feed available to them. It's like a lot of wild populations of animals. If you're trying to manage them effectively, realistically, you want to take the old, the weak, the injured. If your ambition is to have the happiest and healthiest population you can deliver, then taking, any sub-quality animals out of a population is the best way to do it. In a forest environment where opportunities to shoot big numbers of deer are much more limited, making sure that the habitat, the forest structure enables that management is absolutely key. There are other methods that have been floated around, trying to maybe inoculate females to make them infertile. There's also, talk of introducing their predator species such as lynx and wolves and etc. etc. Scotland's ecosystem at the moment, I believe, is in quite a fragile state. We've got multiple species that are struggling to survive. And I believe that introducing an apex predator to manage deer will impact that negatively. I think we need to sort out the situation we're in at the moment by culling deer harder, bringing numbers down, more into balance with the natural habitat before we look at anything further. Welcome to our deer larder here in Aberfoyle. So this is a deer larder that's owned by Forestry and Land Scotland. We put approximately 2,500 deer carcasses per annum through this building. .9% of all deer killed on the National Forest estate end up in the human food chain. And once that deer is dead, it then becomes a food product and has to be handled accordingly. So everything's got to be done to the absolute highest standards of cleanliness. This is inside what we call the preparation area of any deer larder. The idea was the carcasses come into here, and you can see we've got big deep sinks to keep everything sterilised. We've got the knife steriliser, and we've got the winch system that's used to get deer up and down onto the railings and to put them into each other once they've been fully processed. Now this fridge is where all the deer end up once they've been prepped in the preparation area. The deer come in here basically to cool down and prevent the spread of any bacteria or anything like that. So this chiller is kept at 1 degree, and that's to optimise the shelf life of this meat. This larder can hold up to 85 red deer at a time. You'll see that every carcass has a label on it, and these labels are all barcoded. The game dealer who collects all of these carcasses knows exactly what's in this chiller at any given time, and when they come to collect them, they basically have a barcode scanner. They barcode scan every single deer, and then we know that what they've taken away and how much we're going to get paid for the venison.